the light of dawn only uncovered the darkness, horror and distress of the 4 a.m. crash. Personal effects littering the road where the trail of death started and ended.
It is in this wrenched and twisted wreckage of the 67-seater bus that more than 50 people lost their lives and more than 10 others merely cheated death in another road accident along a road described by residents and witnesses as the expressway to death.
Leaders have sent out their condolence messages amid calls for tightened safety on the country's roads. But that's little consolation for families whose loved ones never made it home to them.
This as the impression of another case of too little too late was brought home yet again. We'll start our journey tonight on the Death Express, but first, the top stories. Tonight, pain and death.
Wengine walifunjika miguu, niliona mtoto mmoja amepoteza mguu mmoja, wengine tumbo.
Survivors describe last moments before horror crash that killed more than 50 at Fort Tenan.
Also tonight, more devastation up north. 2 teachers killed in a morning of terror in Arabia, Mandera.
Plus,
karatasi alikuwa ameandika anataka 526,000.
Nikiimba kaivo kamoja nikuwa tu kwa kitanda, mtoto anaamka tunaanza kuomba.
2 separate families united in grief and a desperate search for their children abducted in Thika.
Also tonight, why residents of Mbaruk Estate in Nakuru have not been sleeping easy.
Hainaga kukaa na amani sana. Tunakutwa na wakora.
The night intruders creeping around homes in Gilgil and a police service unable to deal with them.
NTV Tonight with Dennis Okari and Olive Burrows.
This is where the early morning accident happened. Fort Tenan is a small town in Kericho County, just 50 kilometers east of Kisumu. The bus that was traveling to Kakamega was hurtling down a steep descent new highway, built only in 2015 when it veered off the road and rolled.
The death toll has now risen to 55 after 2 more people succumbed to their injuries while receiving treatment at the Kericho County Referral Hospital. The 2 were among some 15 survivors who had been transferred from Fort Tenan Hospital, where they had been rushed to from the accident scene. Okokusa reports.
At the crack of dawn, this sleepy village known as Tunnel was woken up by a loud bang, followed almost immediately by screams of children, women, and men in excruciating pain. Kipchumba was among the first respondents to the scene.
Kufika hapa nikapata basi imeanguka, watu wengine wamekufa na wengine walikuwa hali mahututi. Tulijaribu juu chini kuishughulikia wenye walikuwa bado wako hai. Tukasaidiana hasa na polisi.
It took Kipchumba and other rescuers close to 2 hours to gather all the bodies that were strewn all over the scene and carry them up the hill to the roadside.
Wakati wengine walipelekwa hospitali ilikuwa 49. Watoto walikuwa 8 na watu wakubwa walikuwa 41. Na confirm sahi mumeona hata kwa high witness tumeona mtoto mmoja akitolewa. Hiyo ni kumaanisha hao imejaza 50. Na hatujui wengine walikuwa wale mahututi, hatujajua ripoti ya hospitali. Sasa siwezi nikaongea hapo. Tunaongea yenye niliona kwa macho yangu.
The body of a child aged below 10 was the last to be retrieved from the wreckage. Residents spoke of a horrendous scene littered with badly mutilated bodies.
Wengine vichwa, wengine walifunjika miguu. Niliona mtoto mmoja amepoteza mguu mmoja, wengine tumbo. Na wengine walikufa wakiwa bado hawana itilafu yoyote, inamaanisha ili affect pale ndani.
At Fort Tenan Hospital, survivors gave chilling accounts of what transpired before and after the accident.
Sisi tunafika Westland narudi, wanapigiwa simu waende wachukue abiria wengine kwa gari nyingine. Walikuwa nusu ya hiyo basi. Wakaongezwa hapa kwetu.
Kwa congested.
Hata kufika huko walikuwa wamesimama, gari ikianguka abiria wengine walikuwa wamesimama vile nimesimama namna hiyo.
Most of the passengers who perished in the ill-fated bus were traveling to Kakamega County, including Roslyn.
Alikuwa bwanangu na watoto wawili.
Watoto wako?
Nilikuwa tunaenda kwa matanga, babangu alikufa.
Matanga. The 62-seater bus christened Homeboys is said to have veered off the road and rolled severally before landing on a rocky farm. Survivors suspect that the driver could have dozed off behind the wheels. Some local leaders pinned the cause of the accident to what they described as poor workmanship on the Londiani-Muhoroni road.
There are no road signs, there are no markings. Even the grip, if you look at the surface of this road, the last layer, the one which is supposed to have the chippings and all that, has not been done. All the way from a place called Siret, that's where I stay. That is where the road ended. All this is still under construction. 10 years later.
The spot where the accident happened has since been named by locals as the Valley of Death, with at least 2 accidents being reported every month. Okukusa, NTV.
Police have arrested Western Cross Express Sacco founders Cleopas Toto Shimanyula and Bernard Ishihindu Shitiabai for questioning over the bus accident this morning. They were arrested at Shimanyilo in Kakamega.
While pain and grief filled the morgue as relatives and friends of victims of a road accident at Tanel, Kericho County turned up to identify the bodies. The Kenya Red Cross Society pitched a tent at the morgue to provide counseling and help relatives identify bodies of the 55 people who died in the morning crash.
Grief-stricken families and relatives of victims of the Fort Tenant tragedy today jumped Kericho Sub-County mortuary to view bodies of their loved ones. The families woke up to the shocking news of a tragic road accident that had claimed at least 55 lives as at 9:30 a.m. Kericho Police Post James Mugera had earlier confirmed there are 31 male casualties, 15 women and 9 children. 16 people survived, including 1 child, 6 women and 9 men. Long queues formed with anxious family members patiently waiting to positively identify bodies of their kin. Hushed whispers turned into screams and wails as the inconsolable families slowly walked into and later out of the mortuary where the remains were. This woman broke into tears on arrival at the facility to identify the body of her firstborn son. At around 10 p.m. last night, the old lady says she received a phone call from her son informing her that he had boarded a bus to Kakamega. However, in the morning, she received shocking news about the death of her son in the road accident through the media.
Mungu atakupatia nguvu mama.
Na hiyo mitoto yangu hiyo inasaidia. Sasa nabaki hapa nafanya nini?
Security was beefed up at the mortuary to keep the situation under control as emotions ran high. The hospital has also set up a counseling desk with professional counselors to help relatives come to terms with the loss of their loved ones. Kakamega Governor Wycliffe Oparanya said it is unfortunate that the country had lost its citizens in such an accident.
As a country, we have lost very many people through accidents, so that they drive carefully. And this will help our people to save lives.
The Kenya Red Cross and the Kericho County government have set up an information and tracing center at the Kericho County Referral Hospital to help families looking for friends and relatives believed to have been on the bus. Rozongoi, NTV.
Even before the Fort Tenan road crash that claimed more than 50 lives, the red flag had been raised over the deteriorating levels of road safety.
The traffic commandant says the 10% increase in road crashes between last October to this year is worrying.
NTV's Brenda Wanga reports on this alarming statistic and its implication on road safety in the country.
The wreckage of the bus tells of the impact of the crash that took the lives of over 50 people. Their journey cut short just 2 hours to their destination, Kakamega. The bus crashed into a guardrail before plunging deep into the valleys, taking with it the lives of men, women and children. The crash producing the highest number of fatalities in recent times, but it isn't the only one that has devastated lives and left families heartbroken. Just 10 days ago, another bus, christened Climax, was involved in a head-on collision with a truck. 12 people lost their lives that early Sunday near Gilgil. The two accidents just adding to what the traffic commandant says an alarming increase in the number of road accidents in the country.
Kwa jumla accidents zile tumerecord mwaka huu, accidents zile sasa ambaye ni imeongezeka, accidents hizi zimeongezeka by 10%.
The statistics paint an even grimmer picture. In 1 year, 902 pedestrians have been killed on the roads, 239 drivers, 529 passengers, 435 boda riders, and 188 of their passengers have lost their lives on the roads. The increase in the deaths raising questions about the implementation of road safety regulations that include, amongst other things, regularizing employment of drivers in the passenger service vehicles. The government had instructed that drivers be paid on a salaried basis.
Those who work here tell us the drivers' pay is pegged on just how many trips they can make in a day, and none of them is actually on a payroll as had been instructed by the government.
Ile pesa wanalipa ni kidogo. Sasa unajua hiyo pesa kama unalipa 1000 au umepeleka gari huko Kakamega, umerudi au umepeleka gari ama Busia, umerudi kuna familia.
Those who spoke to us on condition of anonymity say the driver of last night's ill-fated bus had just arrived at this bus park from Kakamega at 4 p.m. Tuesday afternoon. At 9, he was allegedly on his way back.
Tena umri yake ya huyo driver sio umri, huyo umri inaelekea kama 80 years. Kulingana vile huyo driver nimemuona. Sio ati mtu, kwa sababu kama sisi tunatafuta 60 na yeye yuko ni mzee. Sasa kumudu hiyo gari peke yake kutoka Nairobi.
Waangalie ni dere gani anaenda na gari usiku. Wakuwe wadere wawili na wako strong aje, hawana usingizi ama haje. So mtu anaweza toka job saa hii tena unasikia anarudi na gari jioni.
Driver issues aside, attendants say the vehicles covering long distance journeys hardly get time to be properly serviced.
Gari inakuja hapa kutoka safari, tuseme kutoka Kisumu ama Kakamega, inafika hapa. Ikifika hapa hata ile time kuna time ya service. Lakini ukiangalia pia uchumi wetu, pia wanaonolea pesa hakuna. Sasa wanabidi wavumilie na ile life, ile gari imefika tena inabeba tena irudi.
The government also stands accused of knee-jerk reactions to such accidents. In 2017, it banned night travel in the wake of another fatal accident. That ban was later lifted, and now operators here want it reinstated to save lives.
Nasema kulingana na economy ya Kenya, kulingana bila grow. Unajua sasa ukiangalia mambo ya Uganda na uangalia Tanzania, magari hazisafiri usiku. Lakini hapa Kenya wanasema kulingana na economy. Sasa hata kama zinasafiri usiku, ndakana si yenyewe tuangalie uangalifu.
But as they wait to see if that ban will be reintroduced, questions now abound as just who should be held responsible for the enforcement of these road safety regulations. The function that had been previously entrusted to the National Transport and Safety Authority (NTSA) was handed back to the Traffic Department of the Police, placing them in the eye of the storm as the country grapples with the increasingly fatal road crashes. Brenda Wanga, NTV.
And as the country comes to terms with the Wednesday morning accident, all indicators are now pointing to what motoring experts term as structural failures that could have resulted in more deaths.
The Homeboys bus joins the list of buses whose bodies have been ripped apart due to poor workmanship, exposing passengers to higher risks of death, NTV's Silas Apollo reports.
This is what remains of the Homeboys bus that claimed the lives of 52 passengers in the wee hours of Wednesday morning. The body of the Kisumu-bound bus was ripped apart, windows shattered, metals broken, and the roof hived off. Witnesses say that the bus rolled several times after it veered off the road. And with the roof ripped off, some of its passengers were thrown out, others trapped between the broken seats which had been dislodged.
Mimi nikasikia mlio, kitu kama alafu kitu ingine nikasikia kukukuku. Hapo sasa ndio nikaamuka nikakuja. Tukaingia na watu wengine. Kupata kuna watu walikuwa wanapiga duru, saidieni. Tukaokoa watu wengine wenye walikuwa bado wako wai.
But just what could have been the cause of such damage? The Homeboys bus is not the only one. Its fate is similar to those before it, in what motoring expert linked to structural failure resulting from poor workmanship. The blame, some say, is on fabricators who have opted for shortcuts, doing shoddy work and using materials of inferior quality, and in the end, producing vehicles that crumble on impact.
Some people will go for it for the money, so that they save on the structural design in terms of the materials they are using and the cost of manufacture. But if the regulation is in, so that we have people regulated in terms of what kind, the standards they're supposed to give in terms of transport.
The Homeboys bus was fabricated by the industrial area-based master fabricators. Most of the fabricators have been accused of failing to adhere to regulations given by the Kenya Bureau of Standards.
The way the seats are spaced is a safety issue. They are not supposed to be too squeezed or too congested. Because you can imagine, if there's no leg room, your leg is already pressed against the seat and there's impact. You need only very slight impact for you to injure your leg.
According to the CAB's requirements, all buses should be built on standards that can withstand rolling and head-on collisions with minimum damage. This includes the type of material to be used to assemble different parts of the bus to improve safety, as well as the type of seat belts to be installed. The strength of the body, says CABs, can also be achieved through the spacing of frames in ways that can support the body of the bus. At the moment, all indications point to the lack of enforcement, at least going by plans by NTSA to start monitoring the work of fabricators in assembling buses. Silas Apollo, NTV.
A family in Kongowea, Mombasa County is pleading for justice after two of their kin were lynched by a mob in Topanga following a mistaken theft incident.
The two cousins were attacked, brutally beaten, and later burnt alive after a boda rider mistakenly identified them as thieves.
The two victims were allegedly drunk and had left a nearby entertainment joint when they mistakenly picked the wrong motorbike and left theirs parked outside the bar.
And as Kevin Mutai reports, no one has been arrested despite cooperation from the residents in relaying information to the authorities.
In Kongowea, Mombasa County is a family in mourning. Two of their loved ones were killed Sunday night. The victims, who are first cousins, died after they were beaten, stoned, and then burnt alive. They were mistaken for thieves by people believed to be boda operators in Mtopanga.
Nilitoka na kwenda mbio sana kwa sababu nilikuwa niko na gari. Kufika hapo, bahati mbaya nilipata tayari mili zao zinawaka moto katikati ya barabara.
Walibanjwa vichwa na mawe kubwa sana, jiwe kubwa hivi ndio walibanjwa nayo vichwa. Hata nadhani lile bongo lilikuwa lishapasuka ndani.
Samuel Odemba, a law student at the University of Nairobi, Mombasa campus, set to graduate in 2 months. Kennedy Onyango, a businessman, and another relative were all in this entertainment joint minutes before two of them died. Witnesses say the trio left the bar and mistakenly picked another person's motorcycle. A boda operator, only identified as Senki, raised the alarm, saying they were thieves stealing his motorcycle, prompting the mob to attack.
Asa unajua pikipiki inafanana na ile tu. Wakadhani yao iko hapa. Ndio wakasukuma wakakuja nao pale.
Mwizi hawezi kuchukua pikipiki aende aweke petrol station, aweke mafuta. Mwizi akichukua anapotea nayo kabisa, hatuwezi kuupata.
The person that was actually murdered here was not a criminal. It was a mistaken identity whereby kulikuwa na pikipiki mbili zinafanana.
The family, now lost in a sea of grief, is pleading for justice.
Wakiwatoa hapo kwa petrol station walipowaua, waliwaguruta kabisa. Wakawaguruta wakawaleta hapa barabarani. Hata kuna mali tuliona ni kambe walikuwa najaribu kujisaidiana kando ya mafuta, mali kuna pimo mafuta. Ilikuwa kuna mikono ya damu.
Ndugu zangu boda, fuatilieni jambo before tuchukue action. Tukisikia jambo hatujaulifuatilia action, tayari tunachukua sheria katika mikono yetu. Ndio mistake ambayo imetokea hapa.
Wakipatikana vizuri wale watu usiku, watatoa picha nzuri vile walivyoanza mpaka wakamaliza kwa choma.
The heightening cases of insecurity, together with a spate of killings of innocent people mistaken for criminals by the public, have shaken residents in the area.
This is the exact position where the incident occurred, just a few meters from an entertainment joint where the two victims were having fun, and residents here are calling on the police to expedite their investigations and bring the perpetrators to book. Kevin Mutai, NTV in Mombasa.
Two families in Thika town are in a desperate search for their two young children who were abducted on separate dates.
Police say a kidnapping syndicate is responsible for the disappearance of a number of young children aged mostly between 1 and 15 and are following important leads that could lead to them.
In Kamenu village, Sarah Kimani, a mother of 2 children, is distraught. She vividly remembers her last moments with her 12-year-old daughter, Mercy Wagio Karanja, who schools at Reverend Manzo AIC Academy. Since she disappeared, the family, neighbors and friends have had sleepless nights conducting door-to-door searches as they hope to find their daughter alive.
Ilikuwa ni wakati mgumu sana. Juu hata nilikuwa nikikumbuka vile nilikuwa nikimuita Mercy amka uende. Nilikuwa naimba kaibo kamoja, nikiimba kaibo kamoja nilikuwa tu kwa kitanda, mtoto anaamka tunaanza kuomba. Sasa namuita, sasa mimi nikikumbuka hivyo ninakuwa na uchungu sana. Naona niko peke yangu. It is painful.
A few kilometers from Kemani's home in Starehe village, another family is also seeking answers from police after their son, 4-year-old Alvin Ngare, disappeared. Ngare was kidnapped at a Starehe church on Sunday after leaving Sunday school. He was in the company of his friend who was also taken but released moments later.
Kwa hiyo karatasi alikuwa ameandika anataka 526,000 within 4 hours.
Grace Wanjiru Mwema, Ngare's mother, says the abductors have asked for a 500,000 shillings ransom. Sometimes they even ask for more. The 2 children are among a growing number of abductions in Thika town. Families now fear for their children. The kidnappers are also said to threaten parents who do not comply with their demands. Thika OCPD Paul Kireke says police are following crucial leads that could lead them to the kidnappers. Kennedy Muredi, NTV.
Residents in Nakuru's Mbaruk area are complaining of rising insecurity following a spate of home robberies whose culprits have never been arrested.
NTV got access to CCTV footage from one of the most recent break-ins, and luckily the homeowner survived to tell the tale. The residents now want security to be reinforced in the area.
When this homeowner went to bed on Monday evening, she made sure that the CCTV cameras manning the house were on. In the wee hours of Tuesday morning, 2 intruders made their way into the compound. Unknown to her, she had forgotten to switch on the electric fence, and the 2 men, who were armed, made sure they had secured the house and its compound before making away with her television set in a haste that took more than an hour.
They broke the glass at the main door. After breaking it, then they were able to enter. Then after wameingia, sasa ndio wakaenda kitchen. There is nothing that has been taken from the kitchen. Ndio wakaingia sitting room, wakachukua TV.
This home is located in Baruk in Gilgil constituency, near the border with Nakuru East constituency. Instances of theft are commonplace here. Robberies are so frequent here, a homeowner said she had lost count of the number of times she has been a victim. This is despite the area having an active Nyumba Kumi initiative.
My neighbor alivamiwa, walipitia tu tena through the fence. Akavamiwa, but now they moved out. It was a young couple. They moved out. But since then, there have been several incidences. Hapa kwa field, pia kumekuwa na... There were 2 guys that walishikwa wakivamia some 2 ladies.
Tuliingia hapa 23 na tangu wakati huo area inakuwa tunakuwa na shida sana. Hainaga kukaa na amani sana. Tunakutwa na wakora, wanavamia maboma, kama kwangu nimevamiwa mara mingi.
Following this robbery, police have asked this homeowner to supply them with the footage from the CCTV cameras with the possibility of identifying the culprits.
Hii ni constituency ya Gilgil, ni kama imekuwa neglected. Juu MP anakuwa Gilgil, so anashughulika sana na watu wenye wako Gilgil. Naye watu wenye wako administration ya Nakuru inashughulika na watu wa Nakuru.
Not every homeowner can afford the sophisticated security equipment this home has, and the residents now feel it is time their safety and security is addressed. Bridget's Ngana, NTV, Nakuru County.
Interior and National Coordination Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i has summoned all security teams and commanders from Mandera County for a meeting in Nairobi on Monday next week.
This comes after 2 non-local teachers at Arabia Boys Secondary School were killed by suspected Al-Shabaab terrorists.
Reports indicate that an explosive device was thrown at the teachers' quarters by the attackers, who also sprayed bullets in the quarters occupied by 4 teachers. NTV's Mel Miendo with the details.
Arabia Boys Secondary School in Arabia Town, Mandera County has suffered yet another attack from suspected Al-Shabaab militia. Early Wednesday morning, the teachers' quarters came under attack. An explosive device thrown at a room with 4 non-local teachers. 2 of the teachers who died are from Western Kenya.
And the bodies are now lying at the Arabia Dispensary Health, the Arabia Health Center.
Police reservists in the school compound failed to match the militants' firepower, but the situation was contained after deployment of more officers from a combined security team to reinforce those under attack. The school principal, whose room also came under attack, confirmed the incident, saying, and I quote, "Were it not by the grace of God and valiant effort by police reservists, the casualties could have been worse," end of quote. A statement from the National Police Service Commission indicates that, and I quote, "all other teachers and students are safe and no other part of the school was affected. The hunt for the attackers is ongoing," end of quote. The Mandera County Security Committee has held several meetings with Mandera County Commissioner Olaka Kutswa, saying in a statement that, and I quote, "the county with the County Education Board will make arrangements for necessary psychological support and counselling services for teachers and students," end of quote.
One thing which is very unfortunate is that less than a kilometer from here we have had a contingent of police, well armed, and they did not respond to these distress calls from the students and the teachers until 6 a.m. in the morning.
We will be supporting the families of the brave families. We will be responding to them. Indeed, we have lost great men, heroes who have served this nation.
Arabia Town, which is just 6 kilometers from the border, had been attacked in February 2017. Al-Shabaab militia attacked the Arabia police camp and made away with 4 BVR kits and 1 car. The recent attack comes days before the KCSE examination kicks off. Mel Miendo, NTV.
Well, it's 25 minutes past 9, and from that part of the bulletin that was quite heavy, we want to take a short break.
Yes, very heavy on what is meant to be a holiday to celebrate the retired president, Daniel Toroitich arap Moi. But it's not all doom and gloom. We promise you there is an inspirational story by Lois Wangoi coming up. Thank you for staying with us. When the High Court convenes on Friday, the first order of things will be to receive the psychiatric evaluation report as ordered on Monday on TV journalist Jackie Maribe.
This expert opinion will determine the next course of action in the case where the journalist is jointly accused of murdering Monica Kimani together with her fiancé. But why mental assessment? Ken Mijungu with the answer.
For those who have watched Jackie Maribe on television for the last decade or so and even seen her in court, there is no doubt as to her mental wellness. It is for this reason that it came as a surprise when the judge sent her back to detention and ordered a mental evaluation before she takes plea at the end of the week.
Incarceration of the second accused.
Taking plea changes the status of a suspect. When she pleads, she becomes an accused person, for charges will have been preferred and a guilty or not guilty verdict entered. This is very important, especially in a case that carries capital punishment.
First, the goal is to determine whether the person understands the charges against them, so that they know what they are being charged with and what it entails, what the elements of that charge are. And the second thing is to determine whether this person is able to instruct counsel, whether they are able to instruct an advocate so that they can defend themselves. And the third thing is whether they can follow court proceedings. In other words, what the judge says, if they can answer questions and so on.
This kind of assessment comes right at the top of a trial. The judge also uses this report to decide whether the suspect should be tried or not.
The role of the psychiatrist who's doing the evaluation is not to help the suspect to defend themselves or to help the prosecution to win the case. It is to help the judge to arrive at a just determination about whether this person should be tried or whether this person should not be tried.
Once this is established, then the court is able to allow the suspect to plead.
So the judge might determine that then this person should be taken to a state hospital and receive treatment if the psychiatrist recommends so, or be taken through processes that will improve their ability to be able to understand. And if it is determined that this is not possible, then they might decide, in some cases they have decided that this person should be detained at the pleasure of the president, or they might decide that this person has no criminal responsibility or is incapable of having criminal responsibility and might release them.
During the trial, the defense can raise temporary insanity, where the court will be told that the suspect was not able at the time the crime was committed to know right from wrong. At the end of the trial, in mitigation, the accused person can also use the psychiatric evaluation report. The suspect found guilty will then admit having committed the crime but ask the court to reduce the sentence or ask for pardoning, citing the state of mind.
Who should undergo a mental assessment and who shouldn't is a legal decision. All we do as psychiatrists is that when somebody is sent to us, we answer the questions that we are asked.
At the end of the day, a mental assessment is beneficial to all parties involved in a trial process and not only the suspect or the trial judge. Even the prosecution benefits from the report, which they use to determine the course of the case. Ken Mijungu, NTV.
The 10th of October was marked as one of the national holidays in Kenya until 2010, when the new constitution scrapped it off the list.
But the celebration of the day has been marked with controversy since its inception.
Zainab Ismail delves into the history of when, why and how the day was introduced into the Kenyan calendars.
For 13 years, Moi Day was celebrated with pomp and color. In his flamboyant style, former President Daniel Arap Moi would arrive at the Nyayo National Stadium escorted by a convoy of vehicles. He would then inspect the Guard of Honor, witness the traditional military marches and flyovers before making his speech. A holiday that was marked by national celebrations across the country. But how did it all begin? In April 1987, then Taveta legislator Norman Ndenge Lukindo moved a motion in Parliament seeking to set aside a holiday dedicated to President Daniel Moi for his service since taking over from former President Mzee Jomo Kenyatta. There was a heated debate among members of Parliament concerning the issue, But with the MPs cognizant of the fact that Kenya was under a single-party rule and that total loyalty to KANU was paramount for their political survival, the motion was passed. The day was then gazetted in 1989, 3 years after the motion was passed. And after 12 long years, the public holiday was scraped off during the promulgation of the new 2010 Constitution. According to the newly adopted law, only 3 days were recognized as national holidays. Madaraka Day marked on June 1st, Mashujaa Day, which replaced Kenyatta Day and is observed on October 20th, and Jamhuri Day, celebrated on the 12th of December. Despite that, the Public Holiday Act, Chapter 110 of the Laws of Kenya, continued to recognize Moi Day as one of the public holidays. The subtle difference here being that it is a public holiday, not National Day. A court ruling in November 2017 maintained October 10th is a public holiday. On Monday, Interior CS Fred Matiang'i confirmed that the country will mark the day as a public holiday, but the government said it will not organize any official celebration. Mzee Moi, at the age of 94, spent this day dedicated in his honor at his Kabarak home.
Mzee Moi is at home, relaxed. He's got a lot of visitors and a lot of family who have come to visit him, and his principles are still the same, has not changed.
And with the day seemingly threatened with extinction, KANU leaders are adamant that Moi's legacy still remains intact. So unless Parliament changes the law to scrape it, or the Minister for Interior substitutes it with another feat, Kenyans will still observe the day. Zainab Ismail, NTV.
The return of Moi Day has elicited divergent views among Kenyans as to whether it should be celebrated or not.
Here's a sample of the views as shared by Kenyans from the various counties.
There's no point celebrating Moi Day for several reasons. Mashujaa, we recognize them on Jamhuri Day. So I don't think there is an economic and social value or even political in observing today as a public holiday.
Mimi upande wangu ningesupport Moi Day iweze kuendelea, sababu huyo ni mzee wa taifa ule ambaye ameongoza muda mrefu miaka 24. Hatungependa kumsahau.
Moi Day haina maana kwa sababu kama tulibadilisha katiba na ikatolewa, sioni maana yake kuwa katika kusherekewa kwa sababu hatuoni kile kitu kikubwa ambacho inasherekewa.
Kwa maoni yangu sioni umuhimu wa Moi Day sababu hiyo ni ubinafsi. Yeye mwenyewe anajipendelea, anaweka siku yake ya kusherekewa.
Ni siku ya muhimu sana kwetu. Furaha tele tele. Tunashukuru Mungu kwa sababu hao walikuwa wametupa. Lakini tulikuwa naona kama walifanya makosa kutupa siku kama ya leo.
Moi Day tunaikumbuka kwa sababu ya kazi nzuri ambayo mzee Moi alitenda.
Leo ni siku ya maana sana, tumefurahia sana ikiwa kwanza sisi ni watu wa Baringo kwa sababu mzee Moi anatoka Baringo, na vile Matiang'i alisema kwamba Moi Day irudishwe, sisi kama wakaji hapa tumefurahia sana.
Ina maana kwa maana Mungu bado ametupatia uhai, si ati haina maana, lakini kwa wale wanaofurahia iko na maana kwao, wale wanaofukara kama sisi bado tunaendelea hivyo hivyo tu.
Ni vizuri tuikumbuke siku ya Moi Day. Manake Moi alikuwa ni mzee, alikuwa ni mzuri, watu walikuwa wanaishi kwa amani, kulikuwa ni kuzuri. Wakati ule yenyewe kulikuwa kuzuri, mambo yalikuwa mazuri.
Sioni kama ni siku ya muhimu kwangu. Unaona? Haina maana yoyote, manake sasa Moi Day kitu ilikuwa ni ya kitambo, ile ilikuwa na sababu zake, labda siku hizo walikuwa wakiwa na sababu wanatoa msaada kwa watu wengine, lakini saa hizi hakuna msaada wote, juu hatujaambiwa nendeni mkae nyumbani mtapewa msaada ama mtalipa siku ya leo.
That inspirational story we promised you coming up after this break, and it's not one but two inspirational women. You'll be glad you stayed with us. Have you ever wondered what it takes to make a great early childhood development education teacher aside from academic credentials?
NTV's Sharon Baranga, Robert Gishira and Bill Otieno spent a day with Hadija Muna, an ECDE teacher in Taita Taveta, and prepared this report.
Majina yangu naitwa Hadija Muna Rashid, kaaji wa eneo hili la Timbilabi Village, na mimi ni mwalimu wa shule ya Mwangaza. Shule ya Mwangaza ilianzishwa mwaka 1998 na mimi ndo nilikuwa mwalimu wa kwanza kuwa hapa na kufungua shule hii, ikiwa inahudumiwa na kijiji na tunalipwa na wazazi. Kwanza kazi hii kama hauna wito ndani yake huwezi kuifanya, kwa sababu ni kazi ngumu. Saa zingine unaona unatoka nyumbani, pengine umekuwa asubuhi pengine umepishana pengine na mzazi ama umekosana tu na mtu, lakini nikikuja nikiangalia watoto wakinizungumzia, tukizungumziana, nikiwafunza vile wanavyo respond, basi mimi naendelea, stress inakatika. Kwanza mwalimu wa ICD hazieki. Kwa sababu gani? Muda mwingi anakuwa ni kucheza na watoto. Ikifika hilo somo linaitwa ni outdoor activity. Ikifika ni wakati wa kucheza, mtaimba, mtacheza. So wewe kila siku mwili wako unakuwa wewe uko active. Hakuna saa wewe unakuwa umechoka. Yaani ukitoka nyumbani ukija, ukifika shuleni una amani, because watoto watakupatia kwanza hadithi. Teacher, jana babangu alimpigia mamangu. Ukafanya nini? Sisi tukalia tu alafu akamwacha. Unaona, hizo tayari unaanza kupewa storytelling. Cheza kwa maringo tukuone. Cheza kwa maringo tukuone. Watoto wanatufunza nyimbo. Unaona kama hiyo nyimbo inaimbwa ukuti ukuti. Enzi zetu sisi tukiimba ukuti ukuti ilikuwa ni ukuti ukuti wa mnazi wakinga upepo zimpapa. Lakini leo unasikia watoto wanatufunza nyimbo mpya, ukuti ukuti mwenzetu yuko wapi, aligongwa na gari na tumpeleke. That is a new song kutoka kwa watoto. Sometimes mwezi wa 8 inabidi nichukue watoto wa majirani, at least nikae nao niwaongeleshe, at least I feel busy, kwa sababu naona sasa hii hata sioni kama nitatoboa hii August. Changamoto kubwa ilikuwa ni mshahara. Kwamba kama hutafanya bidii kazi yako uwe na wanafunzi wengi, basi hutapata mshahara wa kutosha. Get ready unaamka tayari kwenda. Hata nilipokuwa nimeanza nikalipwa kiasi cha 500, ni wengi sana walikuja wakanambia unapoteza muda, nenda katafute kazi kwenye private school. Lakini nikawaambia hapana, lazima nifanye kazi kwa jamii yangu na nitoe watoto kwa jamii yangu ambayo kesho watakuwa watakuwa role model. Ukiwa mwalimu wa ECD kuna mambo mengi sana unatakiwa kujua. Kwanza, unatakiwa ujue ile catchment area unayoishi. Kwanza, lugha za watoto pale. Watoto pale wa ile catchment wanazungumza nini? Wewe kama mwalimu lazima uwe active. Na wewe kama mwalimu lazima uwe na sauti ya kuonyesha kwamba wewe ni mwalimu. Watu wakija pale watofautishe, huyu ni mwalimu na huyu ni mzazi na huyu ni mwanafunzi. Lazima ujue kuimba nyimbo zote, because in our learning lazima before uanze somo, introduction a song. Kukana mtoto ni wito, na hii kazi paka iwe ndani ya moyo. Isipokuwa ndani ya moyo, definitely hata akikuja hapa ako na masters PhD atafunza hao watoto, because haiko. Wengine wanatoa makamasi, tunawapangusa. Wengine hata wanajiendea choo, tunawaosha. So ni kwamba tumeikubali, lakini tungekuwa hatujaikubali tusingefanya.
Wow, that breaks the difference between those who went to a primary school and an academy. Did you play any of those games?
Yes.
Which one?
This one.
Oh, come on. Did you play by, it's called what?
By short. I did.
By shoe. You did
by
that?
Short. Actually, by shoe. It's by short.
We used to say by short.
Yeah, by short.
So do you know how to do it?
I think I can remember how.
Let's try. Let's try.
Okay.
So you'll sing and I'll...
No, okay, you go.
So
bye.
bye.
You have to go bye 3 times.
Okay.
Bye. Bye. Shucks, I love you, baby.
Baby to the sun to the... You lost it.
But staying with that theme of education, onto a story that illustrates resilience. For Cynthia Jeptanui Rono, everything in her life was just starting to fall into place until an accident that left her paralyzed and derailed her dreams.
Still, she is determined to achieve her dreams of completing her education and becoming an accountant. Lois Ongoi caught up with her at her Ainapkoi home and has her story.
Jepto Rono being pushed in a wheelchair.
Bado niko na hope ya kurealize dream yangu kwa sababu nime struggle sana for long. Nilisoma nikaacha shule for 10 years, nikarudi na ndio tena nimekatizwa na accident.
From being married off when she was just 16, giving birth to her 3 children by the time she was 25, selling changa to keep her family alive, and separating from her husband thereafter, Jepto Rono has seen the British side of life. Yet, she pushed on. After 12 years of dropping out of her primary school education, Jepto finally completed her final year of secondary school education and made it to university.
Nikafanya KCSE. Nikapita vizuri. Nikapata B stand, nikaitwa Kisii University. Nikajoin sasa Kisii University.
But on one rainy afternoon, her life took another turn for the worst. A road accident left her with a spinal injury that confined her to a wheelchair.
Sasa hii hakuna kitu naweza jifanyia. Nashinda tu nikilala hivyo. Watoto wanaweza fika wanakuambia wanataka pesa ya shule nini. Hawa waelewi hawawezi wakajiambia sasa labda mama ana pesa ama nini. Maisha ilikuwa ngumu sana, hakukuwa na kitu ya kufanya ndio nipate pesa kujimudu sasa kwa maisha. Nikaamua tu kupika chang'aa sasa. Nikapika chang'aa ndio niweza hata ku keep family, kuwachunga watoto naye.
She has since had to rely on her aging parents, but their resources are stretched thin. The second-year student has since dropped out of school. She can now only hope to complete her studies and get treatment for her spinal injuries with help from well-wishers.
Paka hata wakati huu sina amani sana katika moyo wangu. Ninapokaa hivi naona ni kama nina uzito mwingi sana katika maisha.
For now, her mother looks after her 3 sons. Lois Ongoi, NTV, Eldoret.
Well, on that note, we are taking another short break. We will be right back. 80% of young men struggle with infertility. This ranges from abnormal sperm function to low sperm count.
But most recent research shows men who like junk food may be killing their sperm count with every bite. NTV's Helen Aura has more.
Junk food is usually a popular and convenient option, even though it's widely known as a less healthy choice.
Chips, bajia, such stuff, I know ziko na effect negative, but I'm not aware about the specific effect they have on somebody.
But science now says it may just be putting the fate of the human race in jeopardy.
Hizo matekawei, hizo makuku, hizo unajua ni mabroila, unasikia gani za kudungua masindano. Hizo ukienda huko ni hewa, unarushanga kahewa. Cheki. Hizo haziwezi saidia. Hizo mama anapotea.
In many African countries, women are ostracized, shamed and blamed for a couple that's unable to have children. But studies now show lifestyle choices among the men contribute to infertility.
People are so much into the junk food these days than healthy eating. And so it's been noted that junk food has saturated fats. And saturated fats has a lot of health effects in the body.
The sperm quality is determined by its ability to successfully fertilize an egg, as well as size and shape, quantity and motility.
When sperms are produced, you want to look at the absolute count in 1 milliliter. World Health Organizations put it that when sperms are produced, in 1 milliliter there should be about 20 million. That's the count. But out of that 20 million, how many should be alive? 75%. 25% can be dead. But also, there should be normal shape, so that can be live and motile. At least 30% should be normal shape, and they should be moving progressively, because some can move, in circles.
Besides junk food, there are other lifestyle choices which affect sperm count, such as drinking, tobacco and marijuana smoking, as well as high blood cholesterol due to a lack of exercise. Sexual transmitted infections can also compromise on sperm production and quality, as well as exposure to heat and harsh chemicals. However, certain foods have been proven to increase sperm count.
The kind of fats that you get from nuts are healthy. They are unsaturated and they are very good for during spermatogenesis. So nuts are really good and healthy. The same applies with the fish. And in the fish you get what's called omega-3.
Doctors recommend a healthy diet that has more greeny leafy vegetables as one way of boosting the sperm count.
In an era of increasing livelihoods and destruction, the issue of reproductive health seems to be a rising concern, and what may have come as second nature may now require more attention. Helen Aura, NTV.
Are you willing to give up the fries?
Not really. I mix it all up anyway, so it's balanced dieting.
Okay, and working it off, I guess.
Of course.
Does exercise make a difference?
I think it does. I mean, it basically exercise helps whether you're a man or a woman. Exercise just helps your body up. It doesn't matter your age group. It just helps in strengthening of bones, the muscle structure, and all that, burning of the fat in areas that are not appropriate.
I'm with you. I'm not sure about entirely giving up fries. We take a short break now, but when we come back, Waroro Dekiru will be back with the sports.
national football team Harambee Stars is a win away from qualification to the Africa Cup of Nations to be played in Cameroon next year. This follows a hard-fought barren draw with host Ethiopia at the 60,000 capacity Sita Bahir Dar Stadium. The Stars were looking to build on the surprise 1-0 win over Ghana, but after a spirited first half where they created most of the chances, Kenyan players resorted to anti-football tactics in the second half to secure the draw. With Sierra Leone suspended, Harambee Stars, who last featured in the Continental Extravaganza in 2004, now need a win against the Walaya Antelopes in Sunday's return leg at Kasarani to secure a ticket to next year's finals in Cameroon with a game to spare. And Coach Sebastian Menye has asked Kenyan fans to emulate their Ethiopian counterparts and fill Kasarani Stadium and paint it red. And Chicago Marathon champion Brigid Kosgei is anticipating more success after a brilliant performance last Sunday on the streets of Chicago. Kosgei was picking up on arrival back home, accompanied by former two-time world marathon champion Abel Kirui and former Chicago Marathon champion Florence Kiplagat. Our reporter Gabriel Kudaka caught up with the returning athletes at the Eldoret airport.
Song and dance for Chicago Marathon champion Brigid Kosgei. The Capsite-based athlete clocked her personal best time of 2 hours, 18 minutes and 35 seconds, withstanding the challenge of Ethiopians Rosa Dereje and Demise Shure.
Nilipambana tu kadri ya vile nilikuwa nimejiandaa. Najihisi mzuri sana, lakini nimefurahia sana sababu sikuwa natarajia kufika hapo, lakini nashukuru tu kwanza Mwenyezi Mungu sababu ameniwezesha kufika mahali hapo.
Kosgei will bask in her victory as she ponders on her next move.
Siendi na Lulu Marathon sababu nimeenda hiyo major races, ndio nimeona sio mbaya, lakini nitapumzika kidogo mpaka mwaka kesho.
Kosgei's triumph came in the wake of a disappointing run for Kenya male runners, with the first man finishing fourth.
And he's done it by setting a new personal best.
This was to the disappointment of hundreds of marathon fanatics back home who are following the race in Kapsabet during a viewathon event organized by Bank of Africa.
Kwa kweli nadhani sisi wote kidogo imetushika kwa surprise. Hatukuwa tunatarajia Mofara aweze kutupiga comeback hivyo.
I was thinking this time to overcome him because I had a very good preparation. For me, I had a hip joint actually, whereby it was okay in the first year. After 30 kilometers, when this guy tried to push, the right leg could not allow me to move in my own speed.
Next up in the World Marathon Majors will be the New York City Marathon on Sunday, 4th November. Gabriel Kudaka, NTV Sport.
The national boys hockey team fell 4-3 to Austria to lose its fourth match in a row at the Youth Olympic Games in Buenos Aires, Argentina. In earlier matches of the five-a-side hockey tournament, Kevin Lugalia's Chargers had shipped in 18 goals while scoring 4 times in losses to Australia, Canada and India. The hockey team will complete its group stage action against Bangladesh on Thursday. Kenya will be hoping to start its medal rush when its athletes take to the track tomorrow. Francis Leshaw and Angela Ndugwa will compete in the boys and girls 800 meters preliminary rounds, while Jackson Kavesa and Mercy Chepkorir run in the 3000 meters. Now some rally news now, and Eric Bengi and navigator Tuta Myonki will be first off the ramp in Saturday's Eldoret Rally, the penultimate round of the Kenya National Rally Championship. Mombasa Rally winner Baldev Chaga will start second, followed by championship leader Carl Flash Tundo, while Nakuru Rally victor Onkarai and local motorsport legend Ian Duncan, with there being 21 entries in total. Tundo needs to finish in the top 3 places of the remaining 2 rounds of the series to clinch the KNRC crown for the 4th time in his career. The event gets underway at the Sikh Union Club at 8 a.m. on Saturday. The route is 250 kilometers long and features 6 competitive stages. And the countdown is on to the historic clash between English Premier League giants Everton and Kenyan SportPesa Premier League champions Gor Mahia scheduled for the 6th of November, with tickets going on sale. The two sides will contest the SportPesa Trophy, with Gor Mahia making history as the first African side to play against Premier League opposition in the United Kingdom. Football fans will be able to watch the match for only £5, which is about 650 Kenya shillings for adults, and £1, which is 130 Kenyan shillings for concessions. Fans looking to secure their seat should head to tickets.evertonfc.com. All the match proceeds will be donated to Everton in the community program. SportPesa will hold a public screening at the National Archives area during that match, and Kogalo will be looking for revenge after a Wayne Rooney-led Everton beat them 2-1 in Dar es Salaam, Tanzania in July 2017. And Belgium police carried out a series of raids at football clubs and homes across the country and detained many people for questioning about financial fraud and possible match fixing. A total of 44 searches were carried out at top Belgium clubs and residences. At the same time, searches of 13 houses. And a new all-female racing series has been launched with the aim of helping women racers get to Formula One. No woman has competed in Formula One since 1976, but organizers of the quote W Series and quote hope to provide a platform. Racing in the Formula One. Do you follow Formula One, Olive? This was definitely for you.
I did see the story this morning. Yeah.
And what did you think?
I think it's incredible. It's a good thing. It's an amazing thing.
What story is this?
Oh, there's now, what's it called for women?
W Series.
Yeah.
It's going to help women come into Formula One.
Oh,
do you love Formula One?
Cool. I love Formula One. I mean, what an okay, this is weird. I go to YouTube to just watch the crashes.
Okay, so I'm guessing Max Verstappen and Daniel Ricciardo give you a lot of joy, right?
Oh yes, oh yes, oh yes.
Do not
and
know
I love it
who
when
those are.
Hamilton loses.
I know Hamilton.
Oh, really?
Though.
I love it.
There's someone who's sitting in the gallery who's not very amused about that right now.
Okay, but let's look at just some of your responses to our leading story today, which was on that crash that claimed over 50 lives. We have a Berlin Conqueror who says, the black spot isn't a problem at all. The main problem is reckless drivers. And then we have Bernard Kimani, who says, since the government is unable to control accidents, mostly in the western part of Kenya, it's high time they think of a rail system. And then he says, secondly, the traffic-based commandants of all those regions that the bus has been passing through should go home.
Well, someone here, Richard Jereha, says, truth be told, the seats in the wreckage are still intact. If all passengers had seatbelts, death toll wouldn't be as high. Then Dr. Nicholas Muteti also says, and this is the last one, says that it's sad news from Kenya for the loss of the 55 people in the bus accident. This bus seems to have a very weak body. What kind of material was used to make this bus? Aluminium foil? I mean, we're praying for the families of those who lost their loved ones. That's where we mark the end of this bulletin. But before we go, you have any memories of Moi Day?
Let's not get there. Let's not get there.
Or whether you want to reveal your age or...
No. Let's not get there. Let's not get there. Let's talk about the fries story.
No.
The fries story. No.
Before we go to the fries story.
Okay, I'm going to shut down this conversation right there. But share some of your fondest Moi Day memories with us. Deno says he
I went to the stadium. I can't remember I was in which class, but I remember going to the stadium. I mean, we couldn't sleep the night before. I mean, it was such a big deal for us when we were kids.
Were you a scout?
Yes, I was a scout, and then drinking the
Because I remember doing
milk.
the scout thing. I don't know whether I marched all the way to the stadium. I remember being in that.
See, the memories are coming back. Well, thank you so much. My name is Dennis Okari.
My name is Warothe Kiru.
And I'm Olive Burrows, and our sign language interpreter tonight has been David Agundua.